In this episode of the Swearwolves, David and I are stuck home alone as we watch the 1990 French film, Deadly Games.
We'll begin with a reign of terror. A few murders here and there.
Welcome back to the Swearwolves. I'm Bret.
I'm David.
David.
Hey, Bret. What's up?
Christmas is coming. The goose is getting fat. Place to put the penny in the old man's hat.
If you haven't got
got
if you haven't got the hat. Was it?
Yeah, whatever.
Hey, penny,
2
half
weeks
penny.
away.
If you don't have it,
Hey,
fuck
penny.
you.
2 weeks away from Christmas Day. A little less than 2 weeks away when this releases.
So fast.
Are you
It's
ready?
crazy.
Have you gotten all your shopping done?
No. At the time
got
of this
all your
recording,
gift
I haven't
cards
done
bought?
jack shit.
Have you got all your gift cards bought from the local
Yeah, I'll probably do it like a
supermarket?
couple days before Christmas, as is tradition.
I, on the other hand, completed all my wife's Christmas shopping. All my shopping for my wife, actually,
Nice.
before Thanksgiving, even.
Actually,
I
I
was
did
done.
too.
Well, yeah, you did too. You bought her a major gift.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, wife is done. I took care of her.
Yeah.
She good.
The most important person is done.
Yeah,
right?
we were
The rest of
not
everybody else.
like during the whole Taylor Swift Ticketmaster debacle. I was not a casualty of that. I was able to get through and get tickets for my wife and I.
Did
So
you?
She's very happy.
Did you have to do anything special to do that?
I had to pre-register for like some sort of pre-sale thing, and then the night before you got a unique code that would only work for you. And then like when you go to the website, like it asks you like enter your individual code, and then you go into a queue, like a virtual waiting room to get your tickets, where I sat for probably an hour and a half, and then eventually it was like, okay, it's your turn. Go pick your seats.
And how long did they give you to pick your seats?
I think once you selected your seats, then you had like a 5 or 10 minute timer. But I think I could have played around in there all day if I wanted to.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I got decent tickets, but yeah, not cheap. Ooh,
No.
no.
But that'll be fun. When is that concert?
It's in March. Yeah, so she'll have to wait.
Yeah, but not too far away.
Yeah, it'll be
It's
here
not like
before
she's
you know
buying
it.
tickets for a concert that is happening. Like when Rage Against the Machine happened. Of course, that was a casualty of COVID. But you had tickets to that, and then
Like two or three.
Did they ever come back?
They ended up canceling. So they got postponed like a year. Then they got postponed like another year. And then it was supposed to happen, I think, in April or something of 2023. And then a month or so ago, I got an email. It was like, the tour's canceled. You're getting your money back.
That sucks.
It's a bummer. Yeah. Oh, well.
Oh well.
I have seen them before. So getting the money back actually wasn't so bad. I was like, that's fine. I like money too.
Yep. I gotta pay for these Taylor Swift tickets somehow.
Exactly.
Did you have to get a part-time job recently, David, or sell
I
one
had
of
to
your
sell some
pinball
stuff.
machines?
Exactly.
Blood. You know, one time I did sell blood for Christmas gifts.
Yeah. Look at you.
I donated. Well, not donated. I sold my plasma when I was in college.
blood money.
When I was I bought my sister's Christmas presents
Aw,
with blood money.
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was like the
Did you tell
gift of
them
the Magi. I did tell them that. I said I sold plasma to get money for this, and they were like, "Oh, cool."
Were they touched? No tears were shed? They were just like, oh,
No, they
that's.
didn't give a
They're
shit.
like, that's weird. You're
Yeah,
welcome.
pretty much.
You ungrateful
They were
bastards.
like, "I don't even like this." Why'd you buy me
like,
this?
I actually already have this. Is the thing. Sorry.
Piece of shit. Do you have the receipt still so I can take it back and get some money? We were looking through obviously holiday movies to do. You know, we used to do 2 movies per episode. We changed that recently this year. We're down to 1 movie, which I actually prefer because it gives us time to talk about the 1 movie and it gives us less time that we have to watch movies.
I was gonna say it's made my life immensely easier. So I like it too.
It's going to come to the point where I'm like, you know what we should do? We should do 1 movie per 3 episodes.
1 movie a month. Dude, it's funny. Like
what we'll do
while I
is
was
we'll just
watching,
talk about the beginning.
while I was watching this movie, I was thinking about how we used to do multiple movies per episode. And I had a particularly busy week at work, and I was like, I don't know how I would have been able to pull this off if we were still on that format. I would have died.
Yeah, because realistically, we record 3 episodes at a time. So we usually watch, so we take 3 weeks off in between. And one of those weeks we watch the movies. But like realistically, you could watch 3 movies in a day if you needed to. I've done it in the past when we had like 9 movies we were watching.
Yeah, sometimes you had to.
Yeah. It was like I was watching movies. I was listening to the movie while driving up to your house. I wasn't even watching it. No, I never did that.
I got the gist.
I never did that, but I thought about it.
Dude, that was the worst. Sometimes you'd have like 3 movies, and if they were all 3 shitty movies, that was a rough day. You'd just be like, oh,
I'd wake up.
What a slog.
Some mornings I would wake up really early before I come over to your house, and I would watch the movie before I came over. And some mornings I would come in, and you'd be like, I'm just finishing up this movie.
Yeah, give me a minute.
Yeah. So thankfully we don't have to do that anymore. But we were going through movies, and we determined that because there's a lot of Christmas themed horror movies.
There's no shortage.
There's just as many Christmas themed horror movies as there are like Halloween themed horror movies. I think there's probably more Christmas themed.
There's a lot.
Which is a good problem to have, but we only watch these movies like one specific time of year, like in December. So it was like, well, let's watch a couple of these types of movies. So next week is our Christmas episode. This week is our pre-Christmas episode. So that being said, we were just searching for some movies and came across this one. I believe I watched it on AMC Plus.
I did too. I think it's also on Shudder, but I watched it on AMC Plus.
Shudder and AMC are owned by the same company. I think AMC, right? So yeah, if you have AMC Plus or you have Shudder, you can find the movie Deadly Games. It's a French film. Came out in 1990. The actual release date was January 17th, 1990. So right after Christmas. They're like, fuck it. Fuck it, man. We don't need to conform to people's viewpoints. We are the French. We make up our own rules.
Exactly.
David, what was the number 1 film in the theater? January 17th, 1990. Go.
I'm going with Goodfellas.
Goodfellas. Probably one of my all-time favorite fucking movies.
Mine as well.
I remember I was obviously really young when it came out, so I didn't see it in the theaters.
So you walked out of the theater calling everybody cocksucker and motherfucker and stuff? Your mom was like, Bret, please.
I did do that. I did do that. But I was like, Mom. I go, she painted this picture. One dog's going this way, one dog's going this way.
This one's like, what do you want from me?
But anyway, I remember very vividly renting this movie with my sister, who was 4 years older than me. She still is 4 years older than me, as a matter of fact.
That's good.
Time hasn't changed that. But we went, and my parents went out that night. So they were like, you can go rent the movie. So we went and rented Goodfellas. And I remember watching it and just being like, this is one of the greatest fucking movies I've ever seen in my life.
Dude, that movie's awesome. That's one, like, anytime it's on TV, I just watch it. Like, no, this is what we're watching now.
A lot of Scorsese films are like that for me. The Departed is another one like that, where I'm
Agreed.
Like, fuck yeah, I can watch this movie anytime. That was not the number 1 film in the theater, however.
It should have been. Really good. Probably wasn't out yet, but still should have been number 1.
The number 1 movie was actually a movie that carried over from 89. It was released at the end of 89. But this is January. I told you. I said it was probably an 89 film. Think Oscar-winning film around that time. Oscar-winning director, nominated. A guy was nominated, never won. Still has never won an Academy Award. Probably should have, but.
Oh. I don't know.
He likes jumping on couches when he's excited about stuff.
Tom Cruise. Oh, 1989 Tom Cruise. Like Born on the 4th of July or something like that?
That's exactly the
Was
film.
It?
Born on the 4th of July, yeah, because it came out December 20th, so it was an Oscar.
Oh, okay.
Kind of, we got to get this out before the end of the year.
Yep.
But yeah, I've never seen it.
I've never seen it either. Well, that's not true. I've seen parts of it, but I don't think I've ever seen it front to back.
No. You and I were talking about this recently because you and your wife are going through the AFI Top 100 list and trying to check off all these boxes, and you only have like 20 some odd left.
Yep.
And I have like 90 some odd left on mine. And the weird thing is like I worked at a video store for a good portion of my young adult life, and I watched a lot of movies. I do a podcast where I review movies. AFI Top 100 has like 2 horror movies, and it's Silence of the Lambs and fucking
Psycho.
Psycho. So 3, and then the other one, the M. Night Shyamalan one.
Oh yeah, Sixth Sense
See
is
Dead
on there.
People.
Yeah.
Sixth Sense. So it's got 3 horror movies on there. I've seen all those, but I've seen a lot of shit movies. And even when I was not doing this podcast, I was watching a lot of shit movies. I would go, you know what sounds good? Big Mama's House 2. It's like I can watch that.
Yeah, you're like, I
or
could
can
watch Citizen Kane, Ski Patrol. I'll watch that.
Yeah. Hot Dog the movie is on.
Yeah. How many Weekend at
sounds
Bernie's
great.
movies are there? Oh, just 2? Well, I'll watch the second one then.
Or I'll watch The Sandlot again.
Yeah.
You know, because there's movies that I just love. You know, The Sandlot being one of them.
Like, did the
But
5th
it's like,
Beethoven movie come out yet? I mean to check that out.
Beethoven's 5th? Because they're really missing out on something if they don't come out with Beethoven's 5th.
Yeah.
Anyway, Born on the 4th of July is probably one of those movies I should see. I think though, now watching it, I'd probably appreciate it more than I would have when I watched it if I was 18 or something. What was the number 1 song?
I'm going to go with Vogue by Madonna. Come on.
It was a big song.
Vogue. No?
Yeah, Greta Garbo, Anne Monroe, Dietrich and
And
DiMaggio,
DiMaggio.
Marlon Brando, Jimmy Dean
On the cover of a magazine.
Yeah, that was a huge song.
It was.
Spawned the pointy bra meme of Madonna, right?
That's right. Was it
I remember she.
popular, though, January 17th? Probably not.
Well, I'll tell you in just a second, but you're wrong. Spoiler alert, because I would have told you were right. Madonna came out with a movie called Truth or Dare.
Yes.
It was like a documentary.
I remember.
And I remember being like, you get to see Madonna's boobs in this movie. And I was so excited.
I remember wanting to see it, my mom being like, absolutely not.
Oh, remember she also wrote that book. She came out with a book called Sex.
Yeah, Sex.
Oh. I wanted to see that book so bad.
Me too. I was like, oh,
I was just such a horny teenager. It's just like anything. I was like, I got a boner.
Yeah. January 1990, like I was 9 years old. I'm like, oh, I'm prepubescent.
Yeah, I wasn't even 13 yet. But I'm pretty sure I had a boner all the time. The song that was number 1 in January of 1990 did not give me a boner. It was a little song by Phil Collins called Another Day in Paradise.
Oh, that song gives me a boner big time.
You're like, oh, the homeless people on the streets always does it for me.
Yeah, nothing really gets me off quite like the plight.
She calls out to the man on the street. Boing.
Doing. You can see she's been crying.
Sick.
Oh, this is another day in paradise for me and my boner. Am I right?
You get your kicks by driving like through like the slums of
Skid Row
cities. Skid Row, you're all, oh, nothing gets me off like Skid Row. Yeah, Another Day in Paradise, Phil Collins.
That's a good song. It's a real tugs at the heartstrings, you know?
It does. Not as good as Man in the Mirror, but on that level.
My mom loved that song, Another Day in Paradise.
Yeah.
Back in the day, yeah.
January 1990.
January 1990, my mom was like, oh.
She would have got it right.
Yep.
She's like, remember, David, remember I used to play this song for you all the time and you got a boner?
Yeah. Remember? And it was really weird, really awkward for me as your mother.
We'd be walking through Sears and you just have a big old fucking tent pole going on.
Wearing sweatpants, so it was really obvious.
Yeah, sweatpants are the worst because you can't do the tuck up.
Yeah, you can't tuck it in.
Just bend down.
In 1990, I was probably wearing like MC Hammer pants, super baggy, very revealing.
Buzz.
The only thing that may have helped me was the pattern on the pants, perhaps maybe concealed the erection to a certain degree.
Like, is that a fucking zebra stripe? Nope, that's his dick.
That's his penis.
Deadly Games. Also goes by the name...
Oh yeah, dial code Santa Claus, because it comes up on the title card when the movie first starts. Because I had to pause it. I was like, did I turn on the wrong movie?
Deadly Games, dial code Santa Claus, Game Over, Hide and Freak, or 3615 code Père Noël.
Shit.
Yeah. There's a lot of names for this movie. Deadly Games, dial code Santa Claus, whatever it's called, was written by René Manzor. Directed by René Manzor. I'm going to ruin these names, so I'm not even going to try to pronounce them in their French way. This is a French film. Music by Jean-Félix Lalaine, and which is must be the father.
Oh yeah, because there's
of the kid.
Yep.
Because his name was Alain Lalaine. What kind of name?
Alain
Lalaine. Anyway.
He's like, my name's Alan Lalonde, you asshole.
No, it's Alain Lalaine. Bridget Fossey plays Julie de Fremont. Louis Ducroux plays Pappy. Patrick Florsheim plays Le Père Noël, Santa Claus. Alain Lalaine. Sounds like someone's calling you. Alain Lalaine. Hello?
Alain Lalaine. Hello? Alain.
Alain.
He plays Thomas. Tommy
plays Thomas. De Fremont. Francois Eric Gendron plays Roland, and Stéphane Legros plays Pailou. The movie's runtime is 92 minutes. I don't have any budget or box office information for this. Hotbox. This was a hard one to find the hotbox for, though, because I didn't have anything to go off of. It was a foreign film. I don't know if it was released in the United States in VHS, and if it was, I couldn't find it.
Sure.
So I had to go the Atlas Video German cassette release.
Oh shit!
From 1990.
Like, and it's all in German, box. So I'm going to read it in German.
That is correct, but I did translate it.
Oh, nice.
So, you're putting the cart before the horse, David. But the top of the box reads, Wer glaubt nach an den Weihnachtsmann?
Perfect German.
You know, I took 2 years of German in high school.
Did you? You're like, so it was perfect, motherfucker.
It wasn't perfect, but I probably and I know absolutely zilch German.
You've retained nothing.
I didn't retain anything, but good thing for Google Translate, because that translates to "Who still believes in Santa Claus?" That's the top of the box, and then there's an image of a close up of like the killer's eyes,
mm-hmm.
and then in front of that killer's eyes is the kid, our hero, kind of standing there in his like Rambo attire. And then below him, like kind of between his legs, I mean, not in real life, like just like a photoshopped image, like a clip art, is the Santa Claus killer. He's like standing there. And then there's the title over the movie, and it says Deadly Games, Stille Nacht, Tadliche Nacht, which translates to Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Oh, God.
Which is kind of weird.
That's interesting.
Yeah. The back of the box has various still shots from the movie, and then there's a description. Are you ready for this description of the movie?
Lay it on me.
It reads as such. Wieberbart rot Kaputz und blutiges Messer. Dieser Weihnachtsmann bräucht keine Geschenke. Stahlende Augen, glankenhelles Lachen und eine Handgranat. Dieser Junge ist keine lichte Büt. Wo Mad Max und Rambo Stammgäste im Kinderzimmer sind, bricht dem Killer der Angstschweib aus. You got all that?
I got Mad Max, Rambo, and maybe a hand grenade somewhere in there.
Yes. All of that translates to white beard, red hood, and bloody knife. this Santa Claus doesn't bring presents. Bright eyes, bell-like laughter, and a hand grenade, this boy is not easy prey. Where Mad Max and Rambo are regulars in this child's room, the killer breaks out in fear. That's pretty good back of the box.
That's it? Yeah. It reveals basically no plot points.
It's not like Uninvited, where it tells you everything.
It tells the entire movie.
And it's like basically saying, look, this Santa Claus is evil. This kid, he likes Mad Max and Rambo. He's going to put up a fight because he's not easy prey. You should watch this movie.
That's what the movie's about.
So this movie was released, like we said, in 89, the beginning of 1990. And it's very similar. Well, people said it was very similar to a little-known flick that came out in 1990 called Home Alone.
Yeah, very similar.
You might have heard of it. I don't know.
There's definitely some similarities. And this movie was first.
This movie was first. And the director, Renee Manzor, once threatened legal action because he said they just remade my film.
It's not that similar.
It's not that similar. It's like there's a kid at home and he sets up traps. Okay, I'll give him that much. Like,
and this kid's not even alone.
Yeah, he's like home alone with grandpa.
Yeah, I'd say he's got adult supervision and a dog.
Kind of. But I will say this. There is some similarities. I doubt that it was like fucking
like intentional.
What's his name? The guy who wrote it, Chris Columbus, who directed it, and who wrote it? The fucking
John Hughes.
John Hughes. John Hughes wasn't watching fucking Deadly Games. Stealing
and going, this gives me an idea.
Yeah. I mean, there's enough that you can go, wow, that's kind of similar. And if you described it to somebody, like if I had to describe this movie, I'd be like, it's Home Alone, but a horror movie, which is awesome. That sounds awesome. We've talked about this in the past.
We have.
When we've talked about like remaking movies as horror movies, Home Alone as a horror movie was one of them. And little did we know Deadly Games existed. But now we know.
We were so stupid back then. But look at us now.
Remember when we were young?
And stupid?
Yeah. Super smart. Super smart. I can speak German now.
Look at you.
Do you want me to hear me speak German again? Fieberbrock, rote Kapuze.
I'm so smart, Britt, that I watched this entire movie in French without subtitles. I didn't retain anything or understand what was going on, so you'll have to explain, and I'll just sit back and listen.
You know, the funny thing is that you probably could watch this movie without subtitles and get the basic
you get the gist,
plot point. But the thing you'd be missing is the humor. And this movie opens up, like the first half of the movie is kind of a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of like this kid. Well, let's talk about this kid. We got Tomas, all right? And we'll just call him Thomas. We got Thomas, and he's like a really smart kid. He's like very computer literate. Now we're talking late 80s when this movie came out, so nobody knew shit about computers. Like no fucking layperson did, at least.
Yeah.
So we thought how computers worked was like how they worked in movies, where like you could like tap
beep,
into
boop, boop, beep, boop, yep. And it just does whatever you
Matthew
put in
Broderick and war games. Like, oh yeah, I want to play fucking
chess,
Total Nuclear Annihilation. But this kid was like that, right? Like he's hacking into everything, and I really didn't know that the Minitel was something.
Dude, that blew my mind. I didn't know that either. And I was like, they had shit like this in 1989? I did.
Dude, not even 1989. 1980 is when it rolled out in France.
That's nuts.
So the Minitel, for those of you who don't know, which a lot of you probably do,
which was me a few days ago.
We didn't know.
Yeah.
The Minitel was basically France's internet before the internet was even a fucking thing. You could shop on the Minitel. You could pay your bills. You could
talk to people.
You could BBS it, like fucking message board.
Yeah, or like a AOL Instant Messenger kind of thing.
Yeah. You could have email. Before it was called email, but they had electronic mail through that thing. So there was a lot of stuff you could do through the Minitel, and I did think it was kind of fun when Thomas is telling his mom, like, oh, did you know you can contact Santa Claus through Minitel? And the mom is like, I don't know about that kind of stuff. You know, she's like, I don't know
You
about
kids
technology and everything.
technology.
It's like nowadays we're like, well, of course you can. Like we track him on NORAD through the fucking website
Yeah,
for Christmas.
exactly.
But anyway, so he's doing the internet thing. He's got a friend, Pilu, who's the little asshole kid who's like, there's no Santa Claus. You're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, you're just talking to perverts.
Yep. And meanwhile, Thomas is like very innocent when it comes to Santa Claus, but he's very intelligent. He's like super
he's
smart.
really smart, but still believes.
Yep. And the first time we see Thomas, he's dressing up as Rambo
With a blatant
fucking awesome.
blatant rip-off of Eye of the Tiger. Like the
Yes.
music that's playing, I was
thought
like,
it was Eye
"Holy
of the
shit!" I
Tiger.
did too, but it was just slight, like the note. It was just slightly different. And then when the vocals
All
kicked
of a
in, I was
sudden,
like,
Vanilla
"Yeah,
Ice.
so weird."
Vanilla Ice comes out and he goes, ours goes ding 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 ding. Tss, theirs goes ding 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 ding.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
very different.
Hear the difference?
But yes, Eye of the Tiger's playing. He's dressing up. He's tying the bandana around his head, putting the war paint over, and he's got like his Nerf gun and his fake hand grenade, and he's running all over this house, doing exactly what I would have done.
Oh yeah, like
At
yeah,
his
pretending like he's in war. He's got a
playing
kick-ass
guns.
mullet.
Did you play? He's got a sick mullet. Did you play guns
Oh,
growing up?
like yeah, like every day.
And with your friends, you would go out and like have your fake M16s and
Yep.
all that kind of stuff.
In the
Did you
backyard.
have a gun sound?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Everybody
like
had
when you
their
were
own
shooting, like
unique- was that yours?
probably. It wasn't like bang
Yeah,
bang
mine was
bang bang. No, it was like
Well, mine was very, yeah, mine was very similar to yours. Mine was like,
yeah.
yeah, kind of like you're saying douche.
That was actually kind of my punch sound. It was like
Yeah. When I hit, it was pretty similar. But there was a friend that we used to play with, and his dad was the principal of the elementary school, so it's kind of like you had to play with him. But his gun sound was this: da-la, 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 da-la. And I remember talking to my other friends, going, "What the fuck? Have
you ever heard a
I
gun?"
didn't say what the fuck. I was like, I mean, I know mine's not realistic. Mine's going. His was da-la, da-la, da-la.
That's awesome.
I'll never forget that.
Oh, that's great.
I know the kid's name too, but I'm not going to say it. But I remember that kid. Well, because I remembered his dad. His dad was the principal, and his mom was the gym teacher. They were divorced, so I knew them all throughout elementary school and high school. Regardless, that's what this kid's doing. He's playing guns, but he doesn't have his friend over. He's got his dog, and so he's basically playing like hide and seek with his dog.
Yeah.
And his dog will go run, and he'll go fucking attack his dog and trap his dog. And
I'd say he's got like booby traps and stuff set around the house, and he's got the house rigged. Like he's got cameras and he's got trap doors, all sorts of shit. And he's
Let's
also
talk
kind of
about this.
destroying the house a little bit.
well, let's talk about this house for a second.
Yeah, is it
Is
even
it
a house?
Or it's a castle.
Yeah, it's like a mansion castle thing. It's awesome.
His mom is like the CEO of this company. I don't know what they do. It's called Printemps.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, Printemps. Printemps.
Printemps. I don't know what that. It's
like a department
my feeling
store
Was
is
it was a department store.
Yeah, that was the vibe I got.
And I also got the understanding is that the boy's dad had passed away, and maybe the boy's dad was like the owner of this, or he was like the heir to like this Printemps like company. And then when the dad died, the mom kind of took over the business, and she was running it. That's kind of what I gathered, but they didn't really go into that too much. But the dad was very childlike as well.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, the dad had secret passages in the house that the mom didn't even know about, and only the little boy did. So the little boy had the secret passage that led down to this like basement, and there was all these toys down there.
Yeah, and it was like every toy that his dad had ever owned, which I thought was pretty cool. I was like, I
And
want
his
something like
grandfather.
that. Yeah. You ever think about like toys
That's
you
why
had
I
as a kid, and you're like, God, I wish I still had that toy. I would do absolutely nothing with it, but I would have it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've spent my adulthood like doing. Like,
Yeah, basically.
collecting toys. I have a fucking collection of toys that I don't play with, and some of them I don't even fucking open. You know, I spent the better part of my adult life, late teens into my adult life, recollecting my Star Wars figures that I had.
Yeah.
Not only the Star Wars figures that I had, but the ones that I didn't have, to the point where I had every Star Wars figure that they made from 1977 to 1985. I had every figure. And then once I got them all, I sold them.
You're like, well, that's done.
And my wife goes, you spent all this time collecting. You got every single figure, all the variants and everything. She's like, you got everything. And I go, yep, now I'm done. So now I'm going to sell them all. And I sold them all.
Yep, and you're like, now I'm going after every Transformer. And she's like, ah.
No, I'm just strictly horror action figures now. But yeah, that's what I did. And I was like, I was done. You know, once you're done, you're done.
Yeah, it's like, oh, now what?
Yeah, that's the problem with collecting something. Yeah, you know that you collect stuff. You have posters and pinball machines and stuff, and it's like at some point you got to be like, well, that's enough.
Yeah, exactly. You run out of space, or
interest.
Yeah, exactly. Like this doesn't do it for me anymore. I got to move on to something else.
I guess the hope is that the stuff that you're collecting will either retain or increase
Or
in value,
appreciate.
so that when you do sell them,
Yeah, it's at least at a profit.
yeah,
It's not like, oh, this is for nothing.
My sister who collected Beanie Babies in the 90s because she thought she was going to pay a mortgage.
She was going to
for her
retire.
house.
Yeah. With the Beanie Baby money.
She's like, this Princess Diana Beanie Baby is going to put my kid through
Still
college.
got the tag on it.
She said to me one time, my sister goes, do you know that these Disney VHS tapes, people are selling them for thousands of dollars on eBay? And I go, yeah, that's what they're asking for. I go, look at the sold items. And I showed her how to click on sold items, and it was like $1.58. And I was like, see, that's how much somebody's paying for it.
Yeah. I think I had a similar conversation once with my mom about my old Nintendo games. She's like, those things, did you know like each of those are worth like hundreds of dollars? I'm like, they are not.
No.
It's like they're super rare ones
like
that are, and I don't have any of those.
No, never had them, because it's like two people own them.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, this kid has all this shit, and he has like, and the mom, because the kid's dad's dead, I think the mom gives the kid a little bit of leeway. She's like, yeah, you can cut open the floorboards and make a fucking booby trap.
Yeah, and mom's always at work, so I think he also has a lot of time. Or it's like, hey, a boy's got to do something to keep himself entertained.
Yep. So he plays with his dog. His dog's name is JR, and he has a grandpa. His name is Pappy. I do think it's funny, the relationship between the boy and the grandfather, because when the mom's like, hey, you got to go get your grandfather for breakfast, he handcuffs the grandfather, wakes him up by yelling at him through speakers, and then he goes in there and he captures him like he's a prisoner of war. And then he comes down to his mom and he goes, Mom, I caught this prisoner. He's a diabetic, half-blind old man.
Yeah, and he's like, hey, easy, kid.
But he's right. He's diabetic and half-blind. And he needs his insulin shot. But anyway, he has a good relationship with his grandfather, and they sit down for breakfast. And then the mom's like, look, it's Christmas Eve, but I'm out of here.
I got to work late.
Yep. And the little boy has he's like, I don't know if I believe in Santa Claus anymore. And the mom's like, you should believe in Santa Claus. And she's like, did you write a list for Santa Claus? I'm like, it's Christmas Eve. If you don't know what your kid wants for Christmas at this point.
I thought that too. It's like, what? Yeah, you're way late, lady.
But he's like, this is when he tells the mom, he's like, do you know that you can just contact Santa Claus through the Minitel? And the mom's like thinking quick on her feet, because she's like, oh, fuck. If he just emails Santa Claus, I'm not going to see it.
Yeah.
She needs to see the list.
So he better give me the list just to be safe.
Yep. So he does. She takes the list with her, and she tells all of her lackeys at her job, she's like, go buy all these gifts for my kids, or for my kid.
Yeah, and just have it delivered to the house.
Again, that rich kid whose parent is just making up for their lack of being around by buying them a bunch of
exactly.
presents.
Just give him whatever he wants.
Did you ever see the movie The Toy with Richard Pryor?
No, I think we've talked about this. Like, I always wanted to see it because the box. Like, I would see it at the video store all the time. Like, oh, that looks like a lot of fun, but never saw it.
It's really not that great. It's not that great of a movie. It's fun because of all the toys. And like I think he's got a pinball machine and an arcade game and stuff like that in the background. So we were talking about that recently on an episode too, like the Black Friday episode, as a matter of fact, when we were at the toy store. The toy has really good toys too, because I remember watching that as a kid going, I want every toy that this kid has
all
in his
of those
bedroom.
things.
Yep. But anyway, so she buys him all these gifts. She's like, hey, I'm not going to be home till late, so you're going to have to go to bed, and Santa Claus is not going to come unless you're asleep, so go to sleep.
Yeah, and if you like try to see Santa Claus, like it'll make him really mad. So don't do that, because she knows how he is.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna stay up and he's gonna try to see Santa.
She even tells him at one point that if he catches Santa Claus will turn into an ogre and eat him.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, shit, Mom."
It's like, fuck. I never heard that one, but that's a good one.
And it's thinking on her feet.
His friend Pilu comes over and they're like fucking around on the computer and they're going to talk to Santa Claus. And this is where Pilu tells him, back to like what you said, he's like, you're probably just talking to some pervert online.
Yeah, that was funny.
And he's not far off from the truth.
He's pretty damn close.
Because the guy who he is talking to who thinks is Santa Claus is actually this fucking psychotic dude who's at a kiosk for this Minitel, and he's put in a quarter and he can get online, and he's like chatting with this kid.
He's like
to be Santa Claus.
He's like a homeless guy. Phil Collins wrote a song about him.
David got a big ass boner.
I got a big boner. My mom loved the song. Like, it's a whole thing.
But let's talk about this guy for a second. They only refer to him as Santa Claus or whatever in the movie, but he, at the beginning of the movie, there's all these kids and they're playing like a snowball fight.
Yeah, and he's like,
and this
watching.
guy goes and he wants to join in, but when he goes to join in, like all the kids leave. And he's
I don't want to play with a man.
Yeah, like a 45-year-old fucking gross man. So they all leave. And so he's all pissed off at the world. Goes and talks to Thomas through the internet kiosk. And he's like, hey, tell me your address so we can play.
Yeah. And he learns some things about him too. Like that his mom, does he even say where his mom works? I think he does.
Yeah, that she's the president of the,
so he's like, this guy's probably
Dolls.
got some money. What's your address, kid? And then as he's talking to him, I think his time runs out on the Minitel. So he's like, shit. And he's like looking for another quarter, but he doesn't have anything. So he's like, easy come,
but he
easy
does
go.
find out where the mom works, so he goes over to that.
And he just so happens to be standing, I think, like within like 100 yards of it or something. He's like, I'm gonna go in there now.
Paris is a small city, David.
Yes.
So yeah, he goes in there and he gets a job like as a temp worker as Santa Claus. He does have the beard and everything, so they hire him as a Santa Claus. And he goes out there, and as he's being Santa Claus that night, this little girl's like, you're not really Santa Claus, and she pulls his fake beard off.
Yeah.
And this guy's like, what the fuck? And he slaps the little girl.
Yep. And then the mom, Julie, she sees it. She's like,
Thomas's
what the
mom,
fuck?
yeah.
And she intervenes and like pulls him off and
She's like, "You're
fires him on
fired."
the spot.
She's like, go get your shit, get your pay.
Yeah, go to personnel
fuck outta
and
here.
get your check and get the hell out of here.
So he goes down there. Well, the mom's boyfriend is like the accountant, and he's or the HR guy and the accountant. I don't know. He does a lot of. He
wears many hats.
Yeah. But he's down there and he's talking to the people who are supposed to be buying these presents for Thomas. And he says, listen, you have to go deliver these presents, da-da-da-da-da. Well, Psycho Killer overhears this.
Yeah, and he says, deliver them to the house. And he's like,
I'm going to find the house. So fucking Psycho Killer hops in the back of the delivery van with all the gifts. And he rides that over to the house. When he gets there, the delivery driver's getting out to deliver the presents. And this guy kills him.
yup.
And then he proceeds to kill the groundskeeper and the cook.
Yeah, and they live on the property, but they have like a separate house. So he kills them.
The caretakers, yep.
Yeah.
And then he
takes like spray paint or or it's like that fake snow that you put on like your windows or your Christmas tree or whatever, and he uses that to paint his beard and his hair. So now he's got white hair. He looks like Santa Claus.
And he's dressed up in the Santa Claus outfit still.
Yep.
And meanwhile, Thomas is in the house and he's sneaking around to go find Santa Claus. And he tells his dog, he's like, you wait here, because if I get caught and I don't get presents, at least you'll get presents.
And he set up all the cameras and everything
sweet.
too. He's like, I'm gonna catch this guy.
Yeah, but it was kind of a sweet moment with his dog, because he's like, listen, if I don't get any presents, I don't care, but I want you to be able to get presents, so you just wait right here. I thought that was cute. But he goes downstairs and he's like under the table, like waiting, like eyeing everything. And his mom calls. And he answers, and the mom's like, you got to go to bed. And he's like, all right, I'll go to bed. And he actually does fall asleep, but under the table.
Mm-hmm.
He wakes up to the sound, and he looks, and here comes fucking Santa Claus down the chimney.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. Like, we see the boots come down. It's like, oh, and he's like, oh, shit, this is really happening.
Yep. And he's got a sack of presents on his back, and he's like, holy fuck, it's really happening. And all of a sudden, his dog, JR, shows up. And Thomas is like trying not to get Santa Claus to notice that he's under there.
Keep quiet.
Get away. Well, the dog knows that something's wrong, because this is the fucking killer, obviously, right? And the dog starts attacking Santa Claus, to which point Santa Claus grabs a knife and stabs the fucking dog.
Yeah, because the dog's like barking at him and tugging at his coat and everything. He grabs like a cake server kind of knife thing and just stabs it in the neck.
It kills it.
Yeah, to which I was like, holy shit. I did not see that coming.
JR is dead. Well, Thomas gets found out from Santa Claus, and he runs.
And there's a little chase.
He goes and grabs Grandpa, and they sneak out. Like, he has all these fucking secret passages and stuff, so he actually sneaks out. They get to the car.
Yep, which Thomas had been working on earlier.
Okay, I don't understand this point, David. They have this old piece of shit car. Maybe it's got some sentimental value.
I thought that too. Like, this is like an immensely rich family. Like, why do they have a piece of shit car that the kid has to fix?
Yeah, I mean, they can't get another car. Like, let the kids still work on this fucking piece of shit, but, like, whatever.
I was say, they don't have multiple cars?
Yeah. Anyway, Grandpa can't see anything, but he just goes with Thomas. He's like, all right, let's go. Like, he's like, whatever. Yeah. And he's telling Thomas, he's like, hurry up. We got to go. Because now he's freaked out. The car won't start. Santa Claus comes, and Santa Claus proceeds to bash the fucking car to smithereens.
And he smashes his own head through the windshield.
Yes.
Yeah, and then grabs, what did he grab, like a pipe or something? I don't remember. And he starts, beating the shit out of the car.
Like a sledgehammer or something.
Yeah, like Michael Jackson, black or white music video style.
the end of They get out of the car without getting caught, and they run away again.
Yeah, and Thomas, this is where he gets kind of like in Rambo mode. He's like, all right, we're going to have to fight or flight. We're going to have to probably fight this guy off.
This is my house. I've got to protect it.
Yeah, exactly. So he gives Grandpa a walkie-talkie, and he's like, hey, Grandpa, you hide here, but like we'll use this to communicate. And I think he's got Grandpa.
He hides him down in the basement.
In the toy room, yeah.
Yep. And he goes out and he starts luring the killer in certain areas where he knows he can like trap him.
And Thomas wants to get to his mom's room because his mom has a phone. So he's like, we need to get to a phone so we can call the police.
Yep. He does eventually get up there, but the killer gets up there first.
Yeah, he was there first.
And so Thomas has to sneak out of the window, and now he's on the roof and he's sliding down. At one point, he does send a message through the Minitel, and his friend Pilu gets it.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh shit!" And he sends a second message to his mom's work, and this is all happening while the mom keeps trying to call the house, and she can't get through. She has her boyfriend also calling; he can't get through. And
while they can't get through the caretakers either.
Yeah, and while he's calling, we see it like come through basically like a fax, but he doesn't see it either.
No, because they're busy doing stuff. Pilu does come over and lures Santa Claus away and goes and calls the cops because he escapes Santa Claus, which I was thankful for. I thought he was going to get killed.
I thought he was going to get killed too, but yeah, he gets away.
Thomas goes and grabs Grandpa, and he hides him in a suit of armor.
I thought that was pretty smart.
Which I thought was kind of smart. And he starts setting up a bunch of booby traps. He buries his dog. That was sad.
That scene was really sad. Like it has
The
almost
dog's
like
like tongue is hanging out.
yeah, and he's
like,
carrying
oh.
the dead body, and then there's like a couple quick flashes of like the boy and the dog
And
in
the dog
happier
playing.
times. Oh,
Yeah.
it was sad.
But he hurts his leg at one point, and then he fashions a fucking splint.
That's right, because doesn't Santa
And-
stab his leg or something? Something happens.
Yeah.
Because they have a bunch of the whole movie is just a big cat and mouse thing, and they have lots of encounters, and he always gets away, and yeah, he gets injured a couple times.
Yep. And then he injures Santa Claus a couple times, and then but ultimately, David, it doesn't end up like Home Alone. Well, kind of, I guess it does, but there's no fucking old man Marley hitting him with a shovel.
Let's get you home.
It's he gets caught by the killer.
Yeah, and catches him.
the killer, but the killer doesn't say he's going to eat off his fingers. He says, "I win, you lose. Now I go hide, and you come find me."
Yeah. And he's
So
like,
this whole
and-
thing,
yeah.
this whole thing, David, is this guy's psychotic, right? And all he wants to do is play. He's very childlike. He wants to play.
He just wants to play.
Yeah. And so from the beginning scene with the snowball fight, he just wanted to play with those kids. And he just wants to play pretend, and he wants to play all this stuff. And then when he gets called out for being a creep, he gets pissed off.
Yeah, and that's when he starts. That's when the killing starts.
That's when the killing starts. So he wanted to play with this kid. And then when he catches him, he's not killing him. He's just like, okay, now your turn.
Yeah, and he's like, "You count to 20, okay? No cheating, all right?" Like he's being very
Yep.
playful about it, and the kid's like,
He's
one,
like, un, deux,
two."
trois. So that's my extent of counting in French. But
it's better than me. Oh, and while Santa Claus is running to go hide, Grandpa, in the meantime, in the suit of armor, he needs insulin really bad. So Thomas is like, I got to get to the
We established that at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, and he has to get to the caretaker's house because there's no insulin in the house. And I think the caretakers are the ones that usually supply that. So he's like, fuck, now I gotta get over there and get it before my grandpa dies.
Yep. So he goes over there and he discovers the caretakers are dead. He finally gets the insulin and he goes back to Grandpa.
He calls the
And,
cops too.
Yep. And he injects. I thought Pilu called the cops.
I can't remember, but he also, I think he does, because he gets on the police are already there, but Santa Claus had killed one of the cops. So the kid, Thomas, is driving the police car and he gets on the walkie-talkie or whatever and is like, hey.
And Santa Claus pops up from the back and he's like,
Yeah.
You cheated.
You cheated.
He's like, fuck. So he gets back in and he shoots Grandpa up with his drugs. Grandpa's okay, right? And now Thomas is caught by Santa Claus and they're in a little scuffle and Thomas has a gun. And he actually drops it. He does shoot Santa, but Santa comes back up.
Yeah, he
drops
gets
the
him
gun.
like in the
Well,
shoulder or something.
Grandpa grabs the gun. Grandpa can't see shit. And it's all foggy and we're looking from his perspective and Grandpa just goes, duck, Thomas. And Thomas gets down and blang.
Gets him.
We don't see it,
Yeah. But presumably.
but we see the end. We
Yeah,
see
he
the
got
end
him.
result. He got him. And Thomas is standing over him and then Mom comes home and Mom goes, she's like, oh, Thomas, whatever. And Thomas goes, it's my fault, Mom. I just wanted to see him.
Yep.
Which I thought was such a touching moment. It's actually making me kind of well up right now because it was such a touching moment because he's like, this whole thing is my fault. I just wanted to see Santa Claus. And it's like that childlike.
It's the innocence.
Yeah, that innocence of like, if I wouldn't have stayed up, none of this would have happened.
Yeah, he doesn't even realize the
does
guy
he
was
know.
just a fucking lunatic.
Yeah, he was a fucking psycho.
And now, like, the whole concept of Santa Claus is completely ruined for him. Like, Santa Claus is kind
And
of a
that kid
dick.
grows up to be fucking Ricky Caldwell in Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
That's how the movie ends. So I'll go to you first. I'll let you kind of start this one off.
Sure. I really liked this movie. It was, I was kind of expecting, just reading the synopsis, that it was going to be a Home Alone ripoff kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't. I mean, we already touched on this, but it has a lot in common with Home Alone, but it's still pretty different. I thought the kid was interesting. He annoyed me at first. I was like, oh, this kid's a little brat. But I grew to like him. I liked his relationship with his grandpa. I thought the dog thing was really sad. Like, it had moments of sadness. The way it was shot, there was some cool camera work and angles and stuff. I liked the house, the giant castle. Yeah, it was cool. I mean, as far as like things I didn't like, there really wasn't a whole lot that I didn't like. It was a weird movie. But I like that it kind of shifts gears. Like the second that dog gets stabbed, the movie just flips. And then the second half of the movie is just fucking bonkers. Hide and go seek and cat and mouse and Santa Claus popping out and the kid getting away. There was a lot happening, a lot of action. So I really liked this movie. I would absolutely watch it again. I'm between a 3 and a 3.5. 'Tis the season. I think I'm going to go 3.5 on this one and give it a higher rating.
David, you and I, same wavelength right now. 3.5 is what I gave it to.
Nice.
So it averages a 3.5. Funny how that works out. I really like this movie. I love this movie, actually. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought exactly like you. The first half of the movie, it's got funny moments. I actually liked the kid right from the jump. I thought he was awesome. I thought him dressing up like Rambo and going around
I
the
thought that was
house
cool. Just like his interaction with his grandpa at first was like, is this kid a little brat? Like a little shit? But he really wasn't.
He's just playing.
Yeah.
The humor at the beginning I thought was great. I thought, like you said, I thought the grandpa was good. There was a couple of things in the story that I thought could have been better. And what I mean by that is the killer could have been fleshed out a little bit more. Meaning we could have, I would have liked to understand what exactly, like, listen, it's not a hard concept and I understand why they didn't do it because that's not the important thing. The important thing is the whole story, the other stuff. But I think to make it a better, more interesting movie, like if we could have disliked the killer a little bit more, seen him kill and do some nasty
shit. Do
shit,
more bad stuff besides the dog.
we would have liked it as an audience to see him get his comeuppance.
Yeah.
Also to get his comeuppance, I would have liked to see it happen. Like that's the best part about like a horror movie or a revenge type movie is when the bad person gets the shit.
You see it happen. Yeah. And his death is off camera, which was kind of weird.
It's off camera. And it's kind of like, well, he was just a sad, pathetic psycho. You know, he wasn't anybody that I really, truly hated because the people that he killed, like besides the dog, I was like, I didn't know those people.
Yeah,
at all. Like
there was like no scene really with them. There were a couple of strange continuity things too. I don't know if you picked up on, but there was like one part where the Santa Claus guy caught him, and then we cut to like the parents or the mom or some other scene, and then we cut back, and now the kid's hiding again. I was like, wait, didn't the guy just catch him? Like, what just happened?
Yeah, I rewound that.
I did too.
I rewound that because I was like, did I miss something?
Yeah, it's like no.
Again, it could have been just the edit that we saw.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, it could have been re-edited for whatever purposes. But yes, there was a couple of continuity things. That I was like, I don't know. An idea that I had that I thought would have been cool to explore, and maybe for time constraints, it wouldn't have worked. But the mom's boyfriend, at one point, he says to her, like, "You go home. I'll take care of the accounting." And I was thinking, this fucker.
I thought that too, because he was like, unless you don't trust me. And I was like, is this guy a bad guy?
So what I was thinking was, wouldn't it have been kind of cool, so to speak, to have it be almost like the boyfriend hired this guy? This has nothing to do with what actually happened. Like, this wouldn't have happened. But the story could have been like there was something in the house that the boyfriend wanted, right? Or needed.
And he hired this guy to get in there and try to get it?
Yeah, fucking Die Hard style, right?
Yeah.
And so he sends this guy in dressed as Santa Claus to like break in. Well, while the guy breaks in, little does the boyfriend know that the kid is like some fucking super genius, right? Because the boyfriend's never met the kid because the mom's like, oh, I don't want you to meet my kid because his dad died and he's not ready for it. The kid's this super genius and the kid fucking torments and kills this fucking guy, and then we find out that douchebag boyfriend has been along. And then the mom I had this whole other story like figured out in my head, and I was like, that would have been fucking awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was weird
so
too. They did kind of set something weird up with the boyfriend, but it just turned out he was a good guy. But I thought that scene was odd as well, because like when it happened, I was like, might that come back later? And then it didn't, and then I felt dumb. That I thought could have fleshed out the story a little bit more and made me care about and that would have given me a higher rating if all that stuff would have happened. But 3.5 is a fucking good rating for a movie. It's a French film that's over 30 years old at this point. I really think that
I would watch it again, definitely. And I would highly recommend people watch it.
Agreed.
You can watch it. What did we say? Shudder,
AMC
some
Plus.
shit like.
Yep.
One thing that I didn't mention was this Elaine Lalaine guy who plays Thomas, who did such a good job. He does visual effects now, and he worked as like the senior visual effects person for this company on the Batman, Suicide Squad, and Black Widow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So he does visual effects. I forgot to mention that.
Well
earlier.
done, Thomas. It's all grown up.
Yeah, well done, Elaine Lalaine. If you have any thoughts on Deadly Games, Pierre 3615 code Père Noël, dial code Santa Claus, Game Over, Hide and Freak, Silent Night, Deadly Night, whatever the fuck you want to call this movie. Wiener Bratzen, Schatzen, Schnozen. You can contact us. How can they contact us, David?
Twitter, Facebook, the Slasher app, TikTok, Hive, YouTube. Just search The Swearwolves. On Instagram, search The Swearwolves Podcast. You can go to our website, theswearwolves.com. You can email us at contact@theswearwolves.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 623-282-1851.
So for the Swearwolves this week, I'm Bret.
I'm David.
And I believe the French say Joyeux Noël. Joyeux Noël. That means Merry Christmas, David.
Oh, Merry Christmas.